NEWSWEEk. My turn. I testified in the Heard vs. Depp trial. The backlash has been horrific by Dr. David R. Speigel. I heard the news that Johnny Depp had won his defamation lawsuit against Amber Heard as the verdict was being read on June 1st. I was very disappointed, first and foremost, for Miss Heard, who should have received much more of an outpouring of support than she did. I have been a practicing psychiatrist for around 30 years, and have previously provided medical malpractice expert witness testimony. But before the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial, I have never provided witness testimony in any high profile cases. I was asked to be an expert witness on this case in 2019, so I've actually been on the case for about 3 years, and I have been privy to every single detail of what's been happening for that period of time. But when I signed on initially, the impression I had was that it would be a closed trial. There wouldn't be cameras and fans in the court. Paparazzi outside the courthouse was never a problem. That's something I can handle. But the situation obviously took a different turn once the trial had become a national televised event. That said, I had a job to do, and I did my job. Before the trial, I had one 50-minute Zoom meeting with Amber Heard, and I had lunch with her between sessions on May 23rd. She was very nice, very cordial and polite. I was very comfortable with the subject matter. I'm well versed on trauma and substance abuse, and I was well versed on the facts of this case. But cross examination is something you're never fully going to be prepared for because you don't know exactly what they're going to do or say. It wasn't as if I was stunned that I was going to be cross examined, though I was a little uneasy with it being on national television. What I couldn't prepare for was a reaction from the public. When I left the courthouse, I was told to leave when the witness after me was going, because the people in the gallery could not leave at that point. So when I left, they could not follow me to my car. I drove to my hotel, and around an hour later, about 4 p.m., my wife called me and said, "Listen, I don't want you to look at what's being said about you." I asked how horrific it actually was. She told me it was pretty bad. I'm not a social media expert, far from it. So I didn't expect the whole horrific post-trial backflow. It's been a little stunning for me, to say the least. The sheer volume of it, from the personal attacks on who I am and what I present like to what I look like and what I say. And it was obviously a little hurtful. I deal with people for a living, so I tried to understand where people were coming from. It's what a psychiatrist does, but the comments below, the YouTube videos of me, and they've been vile, and some people have access now to my work email, so I've gotten 4 or 5 charming editorials about myself. My WebMD page now has been closed for comments, but if you looked at the site beforehand, there were probably 7 or 8 reviews, and all of a sudden on Monday, May 23rd, and Tuesday, May 24th, there now are hundreds. So it was pretty obvious what had happened now. I'm an adult. It's not the first time I've been criticized, but never like this. On that Monday and Tuesday, I had what I describe as an emotional concussion. It wasn't physical. I didn't get hit on the head. It was emotional because the feedback afterwards left me a little numb and dazed on the inside. I slept a lot on Monday and Tuesday. I was originally going to take a vacation to see my son in New York on May 25th and then come back to Virginia on May 31st. Instead, I started the vacation a day early. Fortunately, I've had a lot of support from my family, and even my patients have been emailing me. And the good news is that my residents and faculty members all support me. They texted me and "We're with you, Dr. Speigel" t-shirts, and they made those for me. And that was comforting. During my career, I've dealt with people who are not guilty of murder by reason of insanity. I've dealt with people who are psychotic and have threatened to kill me. It has never fazed me one iota, but this did. You start realizing that it really just takes one person who is not seeing things right. I don't think I was paranoid to the point that I was shutting the blinds, but my eldest daughter is still in my house in Virginia. And as ridiculous as it sounds, I have a pit bull. I love my dog. She's a great dog, but she's still a pit bull at heart. This is probably the first time I ever thought in my life, thank God I have a pit bull. I'm glad that my pit bull is there with my daughter. Yes, I am. I don't think my dog would harm anyone, but she should be intimidating. I would have liked Mr. Depp to get ahead of this and to have said, listen, I understand you're upset, but there are ways to express how to be upset. And the fact that he hasn't probably says potential volumes about him. Miss Heard hasn't come out and said anything either. But my opinion is that she is the most vulnerable person in the whole situation. If I had groupies and I saw them attacking and harassing someone they don't know, I would have said what I said during the trial, that there are ways to express dissatisfaction and there are ways not to. I think when Mr. Depp first noticed this behavior from his fans, he should have redirected their emotions. While I still feel this intervention would be welcome, his fans may be disarmed by the verdict in his favor. Though since the verdict, I've received a piece of derogatory mail to my professional address and one rude phone call that was fielded by my staff. I have been almost totally offline since May 23rd, and I've told my wife and kids before the trial to get off their personal websites, social media platforms for at least a week before and 2 weeks after the trial. But it probably still is a little bit hurtful for them to see the attacks on me and for the patients I've had relationships with for years. There is potential for professional fallback. I don't think it's going to be 80% of my patients that'll stop seeing me, but I do think some actually will, who I don't even know well enough. They might. Some of my patients that have suffered from intimate partner violence, IPV, have reached out to me and have expressed that Miss Heard's testimony was cathartic. But I've never asked my patients what they think about Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp in the case. So there may be people who, if think it's that important, they don't know me that well, they may actually drop out. I'm also applying for the position of permanent chair of the department in my med school. It's not like the comments from the general population would affect anything. I'm not going to lose my job, but will the whole circus around the trial make me look more or less like a serious academic or a kook? I don't know. My thought has always been that before we choose a hero or a star, it's important to remember that we don't know them. We know their persona. That's why it's better to pick a hero that you know, like a family member, or a teacher, like a Mr. Feeny. Then you know them a little more than you know this person you've never spoken to in your life. I would say to the people who have attacked me that just like they don't know Mr. Depp, they don't know me. This is my career. This is what I do. I'm an emotions guy, so I have no problem with people expressing emotion. But I have people expressing emotion that are hurtful and harmful, whether it be by words or the tons of memes. I've seen that it's supposed to look like me when I'm testifying. I would ask people to remember that there are appropriate ways that you can say that you're dissatisfied with my testimony, although it may have been short sighted. I'm an expert at this. Now, I wish Amber Heard emotional healing in this scenario where she was perceived by the general population as a villainess. The trial was, in many ways, an excellent experience for me, though. If it had just been the work that I did that led up to it, the trial and the cross examination, if it had ended in a bubble, I would have said I'd 100% be an expert witness in a high profile case once again. Now, I'm about 60-40 leaning towards no. Never in my life have I been the target of such voluminous amounts of hate. Ever. I will process the emotion, but it will always be there, the knowledge that I was one on the receiving end of such venom. Dr. David R. Speigel is a psychiatrist practicing in Virginia. All views expressed in this article are the author's own.